BGI Investment Forum. We're delighted to have leaders from the different sectors that are presented here today, and I'll turn it right over to our co-host, but I did want to know what President Biden has been talking about when launching this together with the G7, this initiative, was really about bringing together U.S. government foreign policy, national security, economic policy, and then marrying that with what we can do with the private sector and the public, international public sector in the multilateral development banks and others. So this event really is bringing everybody together. Everybody at this table represents that nexus of what the President has been trying to do, and that's why we're so excited to be able to do this. And no better to have it co-hosted by our leaders of our economic policy and our foreign policy and national security. So again, thank you for coming. I know this is going to be what I hope is a fruitful conversation, but also one with outcomes that we can then follow up so that we can drive and make these investments there. But glad to be able to open it up with our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Thank you. Secretary Blinken, over to you.
Amos, thank you. And it's Ajay, Janet, wonderful to be with you, but especially to be with everyone around this table. I'm looking around this lineup, and not since the 1927 New York Yankees have I seen a more impressive group. So I won't talk about the current New York Yankees. So, as you all know very well, and as we're all going around the world in different ways, we know that there is an almost insatiable demand for high-quality infrastructure. This is what I hear everywhere I go, and by high quality, we mean not only the physical quality of the infrastructure that's built, but the way it's done, the standards when it comes to workers, when it comes to the environment, the imperative of not piling debt upon debt on countries that can't afford it, et cetera. And the initiative that Amos has helped lead, that the President launched at the G7, was designed to try to mobilize more capital in that direction, starting with G7 partners, but also on the premise that governments simply can't do this on their own, nor should they. Our role is to figure out how we can build more effective public-private partnerships, and in particular what we can do in places where there may be challenges to de-risk the investments and bring them to scale. And I think what the President wanted to really get at with this forum, with this incredible expertise, was for us to be able to listen and learn and determine how we can do the best possible job in opening up these areas for investment, how we can more effectively de-risk, how we can partner, how we can look at project pipelines together, and make sure that we are maximizing the impact we're having in bringing the necessary investments to this task. So this is, I think, the inaugural session that we've had. We look forward also to getting together when we get to APEC in November. But the real purpose is for us, for me, to listen and learn, because we're determined to make this work. We've said we would mobilize $600 billion by 2027. The United States, and this is among the G7 partners that are in on this. To date, the United States has already mobilized about $30 billion. Other partners have done more. But this doesn't work unless we have the strongest possible public-private partnership, and unless government is maximizing its efforts to make sure that we're creating the right kinds of environments in which investment can go forward. So looking forward to hearing from all of you on that. Janet.
Thanks so much, Tony, and good morning, everyone. Pleased to be here also with President Bongo, who's been leading a great deal of crucial work. When President Biden and the G7 launched the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment last June, as Tony mentioned, the target was to mobilize $600 billion for global infrastructure investments over 5 years, with the United States committing to mobilize a third of that for $200 billion. Alongside financial resources, the Treasury Department is working to accelerate the delivery of transformative infrastructure projects through this partnership, as well as through just energy transition partnerships and our broader work on involving the multilateral development banks. And the projects that result will fuel the energy transition, provide basic services, and drive sustainable and inclusive growth. This is because infrastructure provides an excellent return on investment. A 2021 meta-study by the Global Infrastructure Hub found that every dollar invested in infrastructure produces a 150% return in economic output after 2 to 5 years. And a large body of evidence shows that infrastructure investment increases productivity, benefiting both firms and households. So when done right, infrastructure investment raises long-term growth and increases social inclusivity. Well, return on investment is one reason we're focused on quality infrastructure. With many countries facing fiscal constraints, every dollar or peso, rand, or rupee counts. We need projects that meet the most pressing needs of our partners over the long term, and we need projects that respect environmental, social, and technical standards, including having buy-in from local communities. So we're partnering with governments in need of investment to create the right policy environments. And this is a core tenet, for example, of the Just Energy Transition Partnerships, or JETPs. In the Indonesia JETP, Treasury is working with a network of banks to identify policy barriers to private investment and to discuss solutions with the government of Indonesia that would unlock significant amounts of private investment in Indonesia's energy transition. Treasury is also working to tackle other barriers to investment. We know that the lack of investment-ready projects is a challenge, so we're seeking to increase funding for project preparation. We've also been helping to play a kind of matchmaking role between governments, investors, and the opportunities that we and others identify, and we're seeing exciting opportunities. PGI partners are hard at work on the Trans-African Corridor and on the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which President Biden just announced this month at the G20 summit. The multilateral development banks also have a crucial role to play in supporting policy change, providing risk mitigation instruments, and developing bankable projects. And this is one of Treasury's priorities in our ongoing work to evolve the MDBs. Last year, I asked the MDBs to set ambitious private capital mobilization targets and to implement consistent data reporting that will track their progress and speed up adoption of impactful solutions. We're also asking the MDBs to assess their operating and financial models for opportunities to enhance mobilization and to align staff incentives to reward interventions that increase private investment. We're looking forward to the results of President Banga's Private Sector Investment Lab, which will help us identify what works for achieving better integration between MDBs and private investors. And at the upcoming annual meetings in Marrakesh, I expect to endorse a robust package of reforms that will embed addressing global challenges into the institution's DNA and further increase its ability to make investments in infrastructure that boost countries' resilience. As Secretary Blinken highlighted, convenings like today's roundtable are an important way for public and private leaders with diverse perspectives to exchange feedback. I previously met with members of the Investor Leadership Network in Paris in June, and I'm looking forward to upcoming meetings with public and private partners. But today, we hope to discuss not only what the opportunities and challenges are, but also how you are approaching them and how we can further support you. I think the power of these convenings is when they lead to renewed commitment and action, and we should determine really where we're making progress, where the gaps are, and how to drive more progress. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Thank you, Press.
Thank you, Chris.